From the recruiting gym, and we've got our week of AI or automation. It does not matter. Set up by Chad Sowash yesterday. So if you missed his session, go and have a look at that. But this morning, I'm glad to introduce a new person to the recruiting gym, Mikel Petrocchi. Oh, I've spelt it. I've said it wrong already, haven't I? Petrocchi.
Yeah, Petrocchi, yeah.
Petrocchi. There we go. Who's based in Italy at the moment. Good morning, Mikel. How are you?
Good morning, I'm doing great. And yeah, for some context about myself, I'm a co-founder at Dripping Cloud. And what we do at Dripping Cloud is we're basically a bit of an all-in-one automation tool. And we're especially focused in recruitment. And one of the special functionalities that we have as part of our all-in-one system is in fact a ChatGPT integration. And that's what's led me to basically have the insights that could be of interest today for, the topic of AI or automation.
Yeah, so this I came across an article. We'll get that link in there actually. That was on your company website that talked about AI or automation, and I was like, wait a minute, we need to get them on that week. So this was a couple of weeks ago. So lovely to meet you again, and thank you for joining us because yeah, this is your area of expertise, isn't it? This is the world that you live in. So I'm learning a lot at the moment as well. So first and foremost, then we're in the recruitment world, and obviously Jobbing Cloud really helps and supports that as well for people to do that. So that integrated AI, what got you thinking actually we can make this much better with AI to start with?
So I guess for context, I guess the initial question is, or say the initial matter is, in fact, it's not really a matter of AI or automation because both of them serve the same purpose of helping us actually achieve those goals we're looking for. The reason AI has become it's boomed in interest is because everyone has very easily associated it to basically something that can just get the job done for us. And AI basically gives us that second additional level of intelligence in doing the job. So you can even kind of see the evolution of, the work environment that we've had throughout the years, where initially the very first step was simply digitalization, where it's like, great, I no longer have to constantly manage pieces of paper and folders. I can finally just write it on a PC and have it nicely cataloged there. Then it's upgraded to automation, where you can say, great, I can actually scale it up and have the repeated and monotonous tasks done automatically. And now we've basically reached the next step in that automated process, where you can say we can actually now have a level of intelligence that does tasks not just automatically, but actually at a higher level of intelligence. And that's also why, but that's also why basically these two, both automation and AI, are so, great at basically being combined to achieve that common goal. Because whereas AI does those more complex tasks for us and that require a higher level of intelligence, the automation then allows us to, basically scale that up and automate it as well. And that's in fact especially one of those, functionalities that isn't just an ideal, because of course, oftentimes you can very easily theorize and say how great would it be to have this and that. But the nice factor about this today is that this is actually something practical that we can apply right away, and this is in fact something that we have built at Dripping Cloud. And just for some context on how you can scale these together, is because you might have noticed, if you've ever played around with ChatGPT in particular, is you can basically ask it something, and as if it were a person, it's going to output based on the prompt you've given it. So a prompt could be like, give me a example message that I can write, and it gives you like a very perfect, nice, and basically the standard for a nice message you can send out. It can help you create drafts and so on. But of course, it's still, even on that individual scale, not saying that you're doing it in bulk or automating it at large scales, but even at that single individual scale, there's still something that's potentially missing, because you have to always give it that context that can be time consuming, because you don't just want the generic message to send out. You don't want just the generic assistance. You need, something that is more fine-tuned, more relevant to your actual context.
I think that is the critical part, isn't it? That we've learnt this year, those of us that are not in the AI world and have only come to it because of ChatGPT and suddenly gone, what's this? It's that fine tuning that makes the difference. If you just go with the first thing that they said, and that's a recruiter as well. We're back to, don't take the first answer. ask again, fine tune it, probe, add another question, find out more detail. So I use PES quite a lot, precisely, exactly, specifically. So you get more precise, exact, and specific answers. I've just realized it's exactly the same by using AI, isn't it?
Yeah, and in fact, that's also why there's been a very large influx of, I guess, basically AI experts that can help you in understanding how is it that you should formulate a prompt so that ChatGPT has the actual context, the information it needs to give you the answer you're looking for. But the nice thing about this is you can actually, once again, automate part of that process, because when you already know who's the contact I want to write to, what is the industry I'm working in, and you basically have a general already idea of, I guess, how you want to apply these prompts that you're creating, you can also basically facilitate this process more. An actual example I wanted to give here is, in fact, one of the functionalities that Drupal actually does itself is that it allows you to automatically, when creating the prompt for ChatGPT, to actually quote contact information automatically. Because oftentimes the reason you're not adding that context is because, well, it's more time consuming. If you ended up, like I say, writing down the name of the contact, the descriptions, the professional experiences, and so on of someone, just to have ChatGPT automate a nice and relevant message, you've spent so much time that you might have just as well written the message yourself. Yeah. So that's why it's great, because you say, wow, the AI understood what I've wrote and gave me this great output. But at the end of the time, at the end of the day, if you spend too much time writing that prompt, it doesn't really prove that useful. So you actually need automation or something that is auxiliary to it that helps you actually compile that prompt more quickly. And Drupal allows you to quote contact information automatically. So you can say, using the name of the contact, using the summary of the contact, using the years of experience, the professional experience, companies, and so on of the contact, using all that info that you can choose and custom pick for you, you can then say, write me a unique, or I guess, yeah, a unique icebreaker message that can nicely spark a conversation with this contact. And you
That's
can then,
Sorry, yes. I was gonna say
yeah, of course.
that's one of the best things that I've heard of utilising it, because it's the one thing when I'm doing sales training, the bridge we call it. It's that get from your introduction, getting into the main part of the call, and a bridge gets you over either water or a railway, something that's dangerous. And that's the potential where the objections are going to come in and they're not going to want to talk to you and you might be going to fluff it. So saying something really good as the bridge to get you into the conversation. But of course, it takes time and it takes effort and it takes research to be able to find something they're going to be interested in and then to get them talking. So if we can get ChatGPT to be gathering relevant information, making it right for that company, to then say, okay, give me some ideas and then I can hone it from there. Because people take so much time trying to develop, what am I going to say? And here we are, can help them.
And yeah, and finally, in fact, you can with this actually create a template of that same prompt, because since we're automatically quoting that contact information, we don't have to actually write it each time. For context, I guess if anyone's been, I guess, yeah, sorry, if anyone has any experience in general automation tools, there's usually the magical smart field that you might have heard of. That is basically, a field that auto compiles based on that contact data. But why not just apply that smart field to an actual ChatGPT prompt, so that now I don't have to each time write that information myself. Drupal compiles it for me, and I simply have to focus on saying, write this nice message or write a certain something that you can very flexibly request, and it already has the context it needs without me having to spend time on that. And taking it even one step further with that automation is that we've now automated creating the prompt that is actually relevant to the contact. And we can now, of course, since it's a prompt with smart fields that automatically adapts based on the contacts we're interacting with, what's stopping us from simply selecting a larger amount of contacts and at the same time having that prompt personalized and automated for however many contacts I've selected. So we've now effectively created not just automation that helps us scale that process, but it's also an actual intelligent automation that is able to basically adapt based on the language that we've written in there. Basically, it's using that language processing functionality to understand the prompt that we're giving it, outputting something and flexibly adapting to our needs, allowing us to not only add a layer of automation that is rigid based on, I guess you can just do one thing, but it's an AI, it's intelligent, so you can kind of anything that your creativity is kind of the limit. You can, whatever comes to mind that can spark a conversation or make a message more engaging, simply ask the ChatGPT and it's basically going to help you out on that.
So, I mean, that's the exciting thing here, isn't it? The fact that we're in a situation where it can not only help us speed up the work that we're doing, hopefully, and it may take a little time, like you say, to get to know, and for you to be able to hone your skills so that you're quicker, but it won't take that long. And then that automation to be able to not only be able to reach out and scale up to people, but to make sure that it is individual at the same time, which is what we've missed out on up until this point, really, haven't we? The automation has been very similar to everyone. You're like, well, that doesn't relate to me, so obviously that's a bot, or whatever you want to call it. It's going to be harder and harder to spot those. And I'm going to quote Katrina Collier here. I hope she doesn't mind, because she wrote the Robot Proof Recruiter, her book, and it's about not being a robot. And she was talking about how she could spot these automated messages all the time. And then earlier this year, she wrote back to someone saying, thank you so much for spending the time to put together a message that's obviously related to me and spoke to me very well. And the person did share with her, I got AI to do it. So the automation bit wasn't quite hitting the mark, but it just shows you that by putting AI with it and having that intelligence that goes with it, we can make it so it's got a nice touch point and that it is personalized. So I'm not sure how she felt about it. I think she was like, no, yeah. From there. But that's what she's been trying to get people to do. Yeah, don't rely just on the automation, make it personalized. And now we've got a tool that can help us to do that at the same time as well. There are still some that are obvious because it's the first message they're taking, and you can see, okay, yeah, that sounds like a robot wrote that. So it's that adaptation and making it you that makes the difference. But think of the time that we're going to save as recruiters, all these admin tasks that we've been doing all this time, that we can make sure. So what would you say is like your top tip for using AI or automation or both for recruiting?
I'd say the top tip is that actually potentially not that great of news, but it's that you actually need to create yourself a new skill set, because it becomes very important to actually understand and become an expert in how to communicate, how to get your message across to the AI, because oftentimes you've maybe heard the hype of ChatGPT, you say, great, let me try it out, but you don't really know what to ask it. So at the end, the answer, yes, it's intelligent, but it's potentially lackluster because you didn't know how to actually engineer, how to fine tune that prompt to give you that answer you wanted. So I guess the kind of next step is that you actually have to, get yourself a new skill set, some additional, work in that end. But that work will pay off because you'll now have someone that actually can relatively, automatically and relevantly, auto-compile messages for you and basically streamline your entire workflow. But of course, you're going to need to, get that line of expertise in it as well.
Well, that's the thing I love about recruitment. I mean, it was already 10 jobs in one, and now we're adding AI as a skill as well, and being able to utilize it. And I think that's where Chad was coming from yesterday. It's not about knowing everything about it and how it works and all the details. It's about how to use it for you. What do you need? What's your problem? What are you trying to solve? And then utilize it to help you with that. So you don't need to know about everything. You need to know about what's going to make your life better. So that's what we're here for at the Recruiting Gym, sharing information like this with wonderful people like Mikel, that you go, oh my goodness, I can do that. So let's start with those conversations today. Your workout for today then, to use ChatGPT or one of the other AI, whatever, which one you want to use, but to hone those opening statements. Think about what is it you want to say. And let's get some creativity going through ChatGPT to find out, okay, how can I make this personal for this person and I don't have to spend too much time doing it? And let's see what we can come up with. I can see Charlotte's put the link in there to the power of recruitment automation and AI. So that's what caught my attention to start with. So thank you so much for sharing that. Mikel, it's been a pleasure having you on the Daily Workout this morning. We hope to see you.
And likewise. And also, just before we go, I can also share a quick actual tip on what my suggestions are on how to, better fine-tune the AI prompts. if we have the time for it, of course.
Go for it. Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, just to kind of quickly drop that piece of info, I think one of the more important aspects is in the hype that's been generated, everyone's always talking that AI is basically it's smart, it's like a person, but we need to keep in mind that this AI doesn't really have, I guess the one thing it's missing, it has the intelligence, but the thing it's missing is the common sense that you would normally have when speaking with a human, and that is that you can actually kind of tell with your senses the environment and adapt to it. Like if I'm in an office, if I'm in a certain industry, I don't need the other party to tell me specifically how I should act. But the AI doesn't know that. The AI is basically completely impartial, has none of those senses. It can't tell where it is, what industry it's at. It can't get those basically those common sense things that you normally don't think about as a human. So when talking with an AI, you need to kind of specify, I want you to act like an expert, or I want you to act like, who knows, you can even say like a comedian, anything that comes to mind, and it will adapt to that. In fact, one of the actual jokes that was kind of going around when ChatGPT came around, I guess went more viral because it's been around for quite a while, was that you can actually tell it to impersonate a certain person as well, and it will utilize those same kind of nuances, especially one of the like fictional characters like Yoda from Star Wars, where it will actually create a coherent sentence with that same interesting, I guess, a kind of language ordered format that Yoda would use. So as long as you tell ChatGPT how you want it to act, in what environment you want it to act, it will intelligently give you a relevant response, but you need to think about actually giving it that context, something that you would normally not think about when, I guess, talking with a person.
Brilliant. So yes, write this in the style of a professional business person, or if you hear from me today, you might get it in the style of Monty Python.
Yeah. And yeah, those were my, like I said, those 2 cents on the quick, like I said, insights on how to best write those prompts. And yeah, it's been a pleasure having you all, and it's been a pleasure being on today's recruiting gym session. And then yeah, I wish you all a great rest of the day, and then yeah, take care.
Take care, everyone.
Mhm. Bye.